Hello and welcome to Bennett's Bike Social. My name's Joe, I'm a professional photographer and videographer, and today I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to shoot better video, specifically with your mobile phone. Now we're currently under lockdown under COVID rules, so it's the perfect opportunity to get your bike out and do something with it. Have a go at making a mini bike review. Let's get into it. So the aim of this video is to enable you to be able to do sort of your own mini bike review and have better video quality than what's normally associated with a mobile phone. And the important thing to understand is that we don't really need any professional gear at all. This is an example of what I would normally take to shoot some video of a bike review, but we're not going to need lights, light stands, tripods and monopods, electronic stabilizers and gimbals, accessories and spares, wireless microphone packs, spare batteries, big zoom lenses, professional cameras. All we need is a smartphone and maybe some accessories if you want. So the first thing to do is go into your phone and check the settings that your camera is recording at. Now I'm shooting on an iPhone, but this also applies for Android. I'm going to shoot 4K. If you haven't got 4K as an option, no problem, just select 1080. We want to capture the best quality with our phone to ensure that our video looks as good as it can. Next, we want to clean our lens. Now that's a really simple thing, but so many people don't do this when they get their phone out. They just get it out and go, and they end up with glare and horrible lines from lights coming across their screen, and it's all from just grease and oil over their lens. I've got one of these. This is about £8 off Amazon. It's just a lens cleaning cloth. I use it for my professional cameras as well. Just give it a quick wipe over. That will make such a difference to your footage. We then need to choose which camera we're going to use on our phone. Now nearly all mobile phone cameras have a better quality rear camera than they do selfie camera. Most modern phones now have a pretty decent selfie camera, but this is going to give us our best quality. So I'm going to choose to use the rear facing camera. The only difficulty you might have there is you can't actually see yourself on the screen, but as long as it's pointing at you, it's going to get you in the shot. Alternatively, if you've got a partner or a friend, they can hold the phone for you and you can then talk and you know that you're going to be in the shot and you're going to have your bike in your shot as well. Now it's really important that we shoot in landscape, unless you're shooting something absolutely specific for social media or Instagram TV where portrait works better. We want to turn our phone and we want to shoot landscape. That's because we get a wider shot, we can get more in the shot, and then if we put it on YouTube or it goes somewhere else, it can be viewed full screen on a mobile device or a computer. What about audio? Too many times associated with mobile phone footage is poor audio. We have distorted noises, we have wind noise, all those things really ruin a video. What we need are some accessories. Now there's a few things you can get. Number one is one of these. This is called a dead cat. Now you can probably see why they call it a dead cat, but I can assure you no cats were harmed in the making of this fluffy little friend. And this is really simple. You just stretch it over the bottom of your phone where your microphone is, and that's going to eliminate pretty much any wind noise that we get. Now these are available again online, Amazon, eBay. Just type into a search engine dead cat for mobile phone or mobile phone wind killer and you'll find something like this. Next up, if we haven't got something like that, maybe you've got a piece of foam hanging around at home. This works just as well as the dead cat. I've just cut a small hole in the bottom of this that does exactly the same thing, slots over the bottom of the phone and blocks out any wind noise that we're going to get into that microphone. The idea is that we want to eliminate wind going into that mic directly and overpowering our voice. So we can get rid of that. The other thing that is overlooked is these. These are the headphones that came supplied with my mobile phone, and on them is an inline volume control. But more importantly, there's a microphone there as well. And what we can do is we can tuck that down our top and we can get great quality audio of us talking without the need for any expensive additional equipment. So most of you will probably just have the standard phone video and photo app, but there are a few other apps that we can get that will help us have more control over our phone's camera settings. Now my favorite is one called Filmic Pro, and this just allows me to have a bit more manual control over what the camera's doing, and it's not very expensive either. It also allows me to shoot in a better quality than what I would normally be able to do with the standard phone app. There's also an abundance of other photography and video apps on the App Store or Google Play Store for your phone. Go and have a look. Also, another important thing is to not zoom on your mobile. Do not use the zoom function in your video. One thing you can do is, most phones now have more than one camera on them. This one's got three, one wide, one normal and one telephoto. If we want to zoom in, we just want to go and use the telephoto lens. The reason is, if you zoom in, more often than not, it's a digital zoom and this degrades video quality. It's not a true zoom. One other thing you can get to help you, this is a selfie stick. It extends. This one's got a mirror on it. If you're using that rear camera, you can see yourself. You can see that you're going to be in the shot. That's one thing you can purchase online. They're between 10 and 20 pounds. Really handy thing to have. Also, some of them are Bluetooth operated, so you have a little remote to stop and start your recording. So have a look, see what you can get. Secondly, we have this. This is a mini magic arm, and we can put this at so many angles, and we can clamp it to nearly anything, from a garden table to a wheelie bin, a chair, anything you want. And this can hold our phone really solid. And this is my favorite, is a phone holder. Your phone quite simply slots in here, we clamp it down, and we have a really solid, rigid way of holding our phone. We can then move freely with our phone. We haven't got to hold it really carefully like this. There's no risk of dropping it as such because we've got a really firm hold of that handle. Again, just search phone holder on your search engine or on eBay or Amazon. There's an abundance of options. So what does a bike review contain? Usually it's two things. Number one is the piece to camera. It's exactly what this is. Talking to the camera. We'd be talking about the bike, what it's got, what we've done to it, things like that. The second thing is cutaways or B-roll. Now, in this instance, we can't go anywhere. We're in lockdown. My cutaways and B-roll are going to be details of the bike, close-ups of things of interest all around the bike. Maybe write a script or even just some bullet points. This will help jog your memory on what you want to say about the bike. It'll also give you some structure. So, examples of what you could do in a bike review are introducing yourself, the bike, how long you've had it, whether you've replaced something when you bought it, things you like about it, things you don't like about it, whether you're going to get rid of it and replace it with something else, anything you've done to it as well, you know, have you modified it in any way? But what's really important is not to go on too long. If you're going to edit this video just using your phone and you've not got a laptop or something like that that you can edit on, then quite often you're going to be restricted to one channel. What this means is we can't put clips over the top of details, so we want to try and get the audio, our piece to camera, whilst shooting some footage. Now what you could do is you could actually walk around the bike but slowly, talking to the camera clearly about each point. This way you're going to get your piece to camera and video footage that's usable all at the same time. Then what we can do is we can go in, shoot some really nice details and add them in at the end of the video. If you want to go a bit more in depth, there are some apps that will allow you to layer video up. We'll go over these later, but that'll really change the way that you can edit and the way that you can shoot. Don't rush about the bike when you're shooting your video. This becomes really choppy, really hard to watch. We want to slowly go from detail to detail. If we're going to have to shoot this all in one go, we want to go from one to the other, nice and slowly. No fast movements, no jerking effects, nothing like that. We just want to be nice and smooth, and it's really important to try and keep the camera as stable as we can. That also brings me to the point of holding it. If we haven't got any other devices, we need to hold the camera and make sure that our fingers aren't covering the lens. We hold it stable in our hands, lock our body, and just gently walk around the bike like this. Maybe we're talking to the camera while we're doing it. That's no problem at all. Just make sure that we're getting good quality footage. Next, we need to think about positioning our bike, where we're going to put it, what our background is, things like that. Again, we're stuck in lockdown, so I've chosen to use this wall and this decking. But I also have a garage and a driveway. Now, many of us will have a garage and a driveway, and we can use this for a nice clean background. Now, when I say clean, I don't mean I've washed it down. I mean it's clean from clutter, there's no junk, there's nothing that's really taken our eye away. Or maybe you want to shoot inside your garage. The only issue here is we need plenty of light, so maybe we shoot with the garage door open, the lights on. As long as we've got enough light, we'll have good quality video. So angles that we could shoot front 3/4 like this. We could also shoot slab side on. We could shoot rear 3/4. We could shoot head on and rear as well, but these angles don't fill the frame very much. Another thing we can get, like this, is a paddock stand. I'm using the R&G elevation stand, and it just props the bike up, makes it a really rigid platform to be on, so if we catch the bike as we're walking around it, we're not going to knock it off its stand. Also, when it comes to shooting this side of the bike's upright, so it's going to have light on it. It's not leaning over, and shadowed from any light that's coming down onto it. Maybe you want to shoot top down on the bike. That would be a really cool angle. Now we could use a selfie stick for this, or anything that's an extension of our arm. So maybe a tripod or even a garden broom. We can tape our phone to that, get really high up, looking down onto the bike, get some really interesting angles that way. Give it a go, be creative. That's the whole point of this video, is to not just be restricted to what you have got. Have a look around and see if there's anything that you can make or stick your phone to help you get the angles that you want to get. I've got my bike in the shade at the moment because the sun is sort of coming around my house, my driveway's in shadow, and I don't want to put the bike on the grass because it's not an adventure bike or an enduro bike. However, you'll see that the sun is already highlighting on the rear. Now, what we need to be careful of is real hot spots like that, where it's really bright, and really dark areas like this. We try and want to keep it equal light across the whole bike. Another thing is shadows. Like here, for example, if I was stood shooting and I wanted to shoot this rear seat in the sunlight, if I'm stood here, I've got shadows on the bike. So be really careful of where your shadow is or any other shadows that are being cast. We want to try and light the bike as evenly as possible, unless you're doing something creative like maybe a time lapse, where, for example, these time lapses I shot just in the driveway and out on my back garden of the sun uncovering nice little details of the bike. Sometimes we have changing light. We have clouds that are broken, the sun's in and out. We just have to work with what we've got. But try and position your bike in the best place possible, so if the sun does come out while you're talking about it, your shadow isn't blocking anything critical that you're talking about at that point in time. When we've got that even light, what we can do is we can tap and hold on our phone screen and lock our exposure. What that means is, as we're walking around the bike, we haven't got that horrible changing light all the time that mobile phones give us. This just gives you a slightly more professional look to your video. Camera shots and moves. Now, it's really easy to just stand there and get solid side-on shots of your bike, any details, and just keep the camera still. But what we want to do is we want to try and take it to the next level. And what we can do is add some camera moves in there. And the first one we want to talk about is panning and tilting. A really simple move, but it just adds an extra little bit into your video footage. Quite simply, a pan is left and right where the phone's static, and tilting is up and down from a single point as well. These just add a little bit of creative flair into that video footage. If we want to go a step further, what we can do is replicate a slider or a dolly movement. Now, for this, we need a thing called the ninja stance. And this is quite simply where we flex our legs a bit and we brace in our hips and we hold our phone like that, and we can replicate a slider just from going from left to right and then back right to left. So we have the option of going both ways. And it's really, really easy way of getting those beautiful slider shots without actually having to carry a slider with us. What we can also do is we can incorporate that dolly move with our pan move or even our tilt move. So we could pan left to right as we're replicating the dolly slider movement, right to left, left to right. Another shot that we can do is called the push in or pull out. And quite simply, we're pushing in, again keeping that phone on the same level, pulling back. Push in, pull back. But we're not actually zooming. Remember, we don't use the zoom function. Some other shots you might want to consider are close-ups, mid shots, and wide shots. This gives you a variety of options when we come to the edit. Also, don't feel restricted with this. This is about being creative and feeling free to try anything new. Get down low, get up high, try all these different things. You know, maybe get a box or a towel that will slide easily, mount the phone on it. We can get some real nice slider shots just from doing this. We don't need expensive equipment to get these shots. Once we've got all our footage, we want to have a look, review what we've got, and start piecing it together. Let's go have a look. I've come inside, I've got myself a cup of tea, and now it's time to go through our video footage, check that we've got all the clips that we need, and start piecing it together. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you have all the necessary clips. We need that nice piece to camera. Ideally, we've got it in one take, and then we need to add our details in from there. So anything that you've talked about on the bike, we need to have a detail of that. For example, I've talked about the SP1 having its radiators on the side of the bike. So I've made sure that I've got some details that really focus in on those radiators. Normally, I'd edit on my laptop, and I'd edit in a piece of software called Final Cut Pro, but this is quite expensive and can be quite complicated to learn how to use. There's other software that you can use. The one that's built into my computer is called iMovie. There's similar things on Windows, Windows Movie Maker for example. If we haven't got access or we can't get our footage onto our computer, there are many apps that we can use instead. My favourite is KineMaster because it allows us to layer clips. What that means is we can have our piece to camera where we're talking about our bike, and we can put clips over the top of the details we're talking about at that point in time. If we haven't got access to a computer or any of these additional apps, we can use the built-in video editor in our phone. The only limitation there is usually that only allows us to have one video track. But that brings me back to earlier where I said if we only can edit with one video track, we need to make sure that when we shoot our piece to camera, we're talking as we're filming. Or alternatively, you can talk to the camera and then we can put all our details of the bike at the end of that video. So instead of using the laptop, I'm going to use this, my phone and the KineMaster app to edit my video. One cool thing that we can do is we can add transitions in between clips. What that does is just adds a little effect in between each video clip that we put in our timeline. Just be aware, we don't want really long fades or really long transitions in between clips. This can end up looking quite amateurish. We want them to be short, fast and smooth. We can also get really creative and start adding some sound effects in if we really want between those clips. There really is no limit to what you can do. And the last thing is we need to just check that our audio is okay. Make sure that it's not clipping. By that I mean that it's not distorting. Listen out for it. You'll know if it's good or not. If it's too quiet, we can turn the volume up slightly within our little editor. But if you follow the tips that I gave you earlier, we should have clean, crisp audio that we can use straight out of the video. So why don't you go try it? Pick up your phone and go get creating. Seriously guys, you're impressive. I always wanted to be a plane pilot, but not today. Oh, they're chasing each other now. They're going to make loads of noise. It's impressive though. Oh, go on lads. Oh my God. Shoot. Ah, yeah. The wind as well. Oh my God. Oh yeah, there it is. Let's have a dogfight, shall we? Brilliant. And I'm a professional. Oh, for fuck's sake. This is why I stay behind the camera. This is why I stay behind the camera. For fuck's sake.